Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing the Success of Your Mobile Billing and Payment. I'm Phil Spradlin with ACI Worldwide, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Ron Shevlin from the research firm Untitled Group. Today, you'll hear why it's important to shape the new mobile customer experience from Untitled Group's latest research. Second, you will hear the top 10 requirements for a successful mobile billing and payment system. Now it's my pleasure to turn over to Ron Shevlin from Untitled Group. Ron?
Thanks, Bill. I don't know if you and our guests have seen the news recently reporting how smartphone adoption has reached about 60% of the population so far, and how tablets like iPads and so forth, are owned by about a third of all households in the U.S. It's quite a level of adoption over a relatively short period of time. And it's pretty amazing in terms of what it's done. But, it seems to me that what gets missed a lot in terms of a lot of that news is how these devices have changed our behaviors and changed how we've communicated. The New York Times picked up on this recently with an article called Attached to Technology and Paying a Price, and how all this computer time that we spend online and attached to these devices have really changed our behaviors, our attitudes, and how we think. Now, this is probably a little small, this screen. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not sure you can see that guy's iPad, so let me enlarge that for you to give you a better understanding. There you go. I got to tell you, I bought my wife an iPad a couple years ago, and I haven't had to talk to her in 2 years. It's great technology. I love it. And I'm just kidding, of course. But I do want to really emphasize today and talk about how these mobile devices are changing behavior, specifically in terms of how consumers pay their bills. And really, from your perspective as billers, understand why you need to participate in shaping a new mobile customer experience. And to help me play out this theme a little bit, what I'm going to do over the next 15, 20 minutes or so is address 3 questions and talk a little bit about what consumers are doing with mobile devices and the mobile channel. Share with you some research that we've done recently in terms of how large billers are responding to this change in behaviors, and then talk a little bit about why this is so important and why shaping a new mobile experience is important. And then I'll turn things back over to Phil, who'll talk a little bit more about how to actually make that happen. Untitled Group, the firm I work for, is a research and advisory firm based in Boston. We focus on the financial services industry and do a lot of consumer research about how consumers interact with technology as they manage their finances and pay their bills. And when we contacted consumers recently, we found that, probably not surprisingly, that many consumers are using their mobile devices to check account balances, and not just bank account, but their credit cards, and access other types of accounts as well with the various providers they do business with because of the convenience of it. But we did find, however, that there are some significant differences in this utilization by age. Among Gen Yers who own a smartphone, nearly 2/3 of them are checking their account balances using that device. The percentage of other consumers that own a smartphone and use that device goes down a bit to about a third, to about 3 out of 10 Gen Xers or baby boomers. And consumers over the age of 65, even if they own a smartphone, tend to not use that phone to check their account balances. From a tablet perspective, as tablets become more popular, I would expect these numbers to go up. But among Gen Yers who own a tablet, about 4 out of 10 use that device to check account balances. About a third of Gen Xers who own a tablet are using it to check account balances, about 1 out of 5 boomers. And interestingly, you can see that among consumers over the age of 65, 1 out of 5 of those who own a tablet are using it. And so form factor becomes very important here when we think about how consumers use mobile devices to do things. But they're not just checking their account balances with these devices. Some of them are actually paying monthly bills as well, in particular the Gen Yers. Again, among those that own a smartphone, more than 4 out of 10 have used that device to pay at least one monthly bill. the number goes down significantly among the other generations. From a tablet perspective, tablets not as widely used among the Gen Yers, but might not be big differences, but a slightly higher percentage of both Gen Xers and baby boomers who own a tablet are using those devices to pay their monthly bills. So it's clear that with the rapid adoption of both smartphones and tablets, we are starting to really see a change in behavior, especially as it results in how they access and interface with financial institutions and the companies that they do business with and the firms that they pay their bills, and actually changing the way they view and pay their monthly bills. At ITAG Group, we've estimated and done some sizing over the past couple of years in terms of how consumers pay monthly bills. And from a channel perspective, if we look at the difference between 2010 and what we estimate this year, we continue to see the slow growth of the online channel from about 36% of bills paid in 2010 to about 4 out of 10 this year. And while we're still not talking about huge numbers, there's a growth in the mobile channel from about 1% of bills in 2010 to about 6% of bills this year. And it's important to note that this growth of mobile is not necessarily coming out of the online channel. It's coming out of other types of channels, like we see the decline in bills paid through the mail and a slight decline in bills paid in person, as channels like direct debit and a small percentage of bills that get paid by phone, mostly through IVR, remain fairly consistent. So while we're not talking necessarily huge numbers here in terms of the percentage of bills paid from mobile, it's important to note that the online and mobile channels are still growing in terms of market share for bills paid. And I think as we will be doing some forecasts later on this year, as we've just got some new consumer data around bill pay behavior, we'll continue to see this growth in both online and the mobile channels. What we're talking about here in terms of the actual number of bills paid is over 5 billion bills paid online in 2010 and about 174 million, which with this growth means that in 2013 we'll be looking at more than 800 million bills paid through mobile devices, representing a nearly 400% growth, which means that by about next year or 2015 at the latest, about 1 billion bills will be paid through mobile devices. And so it's important from a biller perspective to understand that this is not simply about creating capabilities that replicate what's been done online or through other channels, but to create new capabilities through using the power of these mobile devices to create new customer experiences. And to give you a sense for how important apps are and the mobile devices are to many players, I'd like to share these something. I probably shouldn't share this with you because I'm not supposed to be telling you about what Apple is going to do, but I figured you've been kind enough to get on this webinar, so I should share some cool information with you. I'll share with you a prototype of a upcoming version of Apple's iPhone. It's the iPhone 30s. 30 lines of apps distributed across 2 physical devices connected by a lightning connector, doubles as a smartphone and nunchucks, the ultimate in personal and data security. Just kidding, of course. But the point about apps, I'm not kidding about. Apps are very important, especially as consumers and how they use mobile devices, but increasingly becoming important to all types of providers and not just billers. I don't know if you've been to any hotels recently, but many hotels are actually creating apps that change the interface and experience that consumers have. So rather than wait in line to get your room key or to pick up the phone to have to talk to room service and housekeeping, everything can be done directly through an app on your iPhone or smartphone, or an app on your tablet or iPad. And not only integrating all of the various contacts and touch points, but to see that there's even a sort of a guest-to-guest ability to be more social and connect with other hotel guests in the hotel. Utilities are changing the way they are interacting and enabling their customers to interact with them with apps that let you check the weather, control the thermostat, control the lighting and energy use to see the impact of these changes. But what's missing in this sort of change in interface and experience is the payment and billing experience is still kind of missing. There is one biller that I've seen that is interacting and incorporating this, and that's if you own a Mercedes-Benz, you now can have a device in your car that not just accesses the web and allows you to get onto Facebook and see maps, but to interact with Mercedes-Benz financial services, and to not just make payments mobily, but actually make payments from your car, request payoff quotes, get information about the dealer. They're changing the overall customer experience using mobility and the mobile devices. Now, as we've talked to billers about what they're doing, I don't see many who are following Mercedes-Benz footsteps just yet. In a recent survey of medium to large billers, we did find some interest in mobile wallets. About 4 out of 10 of the billers we surveyed last year said that they are very or somewhat interested in providing or accepting some sort of mobile wallet type payment. At the time, 4 out of 10 said Google Wallet, and I don't know that those numbers will be so high at the moment with what's happened with Google Wallet. But clearly there was some interest among billers to participate and get involved with the mobile wallet type capabilities, but we found a lot less billers interested in the mobile apps. In terms of what we found at that point when we did the survey last year, only about a quarter of the billers that we surveyed had actually optimized their website for a mobile experience, and far fewer at that point had developed any sort of mobile app for bill presentment or payment. Few were sending out mobile text alerts, and less than 1 out of 10 had developed an app for the tablet for bill presentment and payment, and barely a handful had an app for a mobile app for self-service. In rolling the clock forward over the next 24 months through this year and into 2014, clearly there's a lot of interest among some billers in terms of offering a mobile optimized website. About a third who will develop some sort of mobile app for bill presentment and payment or mobile text alerts, and about 1 out of 4 developing apps for the tablet or for self-service. But even as we kind of roll the clock forward and look at 2014 to 2015, we're still going to find that almost about a half of medium to large billers will not have a mobile app for bill presentment or payment, will not be doing any kind of mobile text alerts. About 2/3 will still not have a tablet app, and almost 3/4 no mobile app for self-service. And it begs the question from my perspective is why? Why are billers slow to build mobile apps? And so I'd like to share with you some of the research that we did among billers to try to help understand what are some of the barriers and challenges that billers are facing in getting more involved in building out a new mobile experience. I'll share with you some of the research and some of the ideas that I concluded in terms of why billers are slow to build these apps, but I'll start with a couple of reasons that I don't think are a factor. And the first reason that's not a factor is attitudes. I mean, billers clearly believe that bills and payments impact customer satisfaction. Practically every one of the respondents to our survey said that the right billing and payment strategy can have a significant impact on customer satisfaction. And it was literally just 3% who said that it did not have a significant impact, and they may very well believe that we're just mincing words, that it isn't about significant, but you know, somewhat of an impact. So it's not about customer satisfaction, and in fact, when we asked billers about what drives their bill payment solution decisions, customer satisfaction is ranked #1 factor in influencing their decision, followed by things like operational efficiency and the impact of firms' costs. Things like public brand perception or competitive parity differentiation kind of fell to the bottom of the list here. But it's clear that billers are very focused on customer satisfaction. So that's not a reason why billers are not getting involved in the mobile apps world. Nor is it about data. In fact, billers consider themselves to be fairly analytical about bill pay and presentment. About 4 out of 10 said that they were very analytical and they track a lot of indicators by channel and payment method. About half said that they were somewhat analytical, that they don't necessarily track channel and payment performance indicators to a great level of detail, but they still considered themselves somewhat analytical. Just 1 out of 10 said that they have limited data on bill pay and presentment channel performance. So I don't think it's about having the data available to provide mobile apps that's getting in the way of billers building out these apps. Instead, I think that there are 4 factors that are influencing this. The first is risk aversion. Predominantly from a technology perspective. Nearly 3/4 of the billers that we surveyed, and again, these are mostly medium to large billers doing 50,000 bills per cycle and up. 3/4 of them said that they rarely invest in unproven solutions, and I think this is a barrier to the mobile app investments from a biller perspective, is that they still see this technology and these types of apps as unproven solutions, both from a technology and economic perspective. The second reason, and probably even more important than the risk aversion, is a cost factor. Many of the billers we talked to said that the cost of paper bills caused them at least some, if not a lot, of pain. 3/4 mentioned that call center costs for billing and payment issues is a major pain for them. My guess and assumption here is that for many of these billers, the costs for disseminating, distributing, and paper bills, as well as handling the billing and payment issues, is crowding out investment in new capabilities. And I think that's one of the larger problems that billers are facing in trying to put emphasis on building out new capabilities, as well as the third reason, which is about technology. Many of the billers we spoke to say that integrating various technologies, and especially integrating mobile and online technologies with the call center and other channels, is still a challenge for many. And I think as many of them look at the slow adoption of e-bill presentment, that forces them or causes them to reduce their interest, and especially an investment, in building out mobile capabilities. The fourth reason that I would point to, and I don't know necessarily that this is in order of importance, I think the cost and technology is important, but I think this is another important factor, is there are organizational reasons that I think are limiting the interest of billers in mobile payments and mobile apps in particular, and shaping a new mobile experience. When we asked billers about who's involved from a stakeholder perspective in shaping their organization's bill payment and presentment decisions, the top 3 departments that are involved, not surprisingly, are customer service, technology, and operations. At the bottom of the list is marketing. And so this, to me, seems to be a bit of a dilemma. The organization that's probably most involved and most responsible for customer satisfaction and the customer experience is the department least involved in making bill payment and presentment decisions. And I think this combination of risk aversion, cost factors, technology integration, and organizational issues are all combining to keep the demand and it's really the supply, I guess, of mobile apps and a new mobile experience on the part of billers from rising to the forefront. But I think as we look over the next couple of years, I think Phil and I and ICI are pretty convinced that this has got to change and will change, because this is pretty important from a customer satisfaction perspective. If you think about the various customer touch points that you have with your customers and so forth, this cuts across, and it's different, of course, for every type of provider out there, and I don't know where you all come from. But if you kind of look at this, let's say, from a utility, electricity, or even insurance perspective, some of the major billers out there tend to be 3 types of touch points. The first is when your customer actually uses your product. And if you're in a utility providing electricity or water, or if you're an insurance company, very often your customer isn't even aware that they are using your product or service. They take it for granted. They flip that on switch. If it's insurance and they're turning on the car, or they're in their house, they don't think about the product. They are not interacting with the actual product or service in a conscious way, except, of course, if a problem happens. And many of you are actually very good at preventing these problems from happening. And I don't want to diminish the importance of customer service when there is a problem in influencing and impacting customer satisfaction. But the problem is, or the reality is that for a large extent, to a large extent, many of your customers don't have problems on a regular basis. Therefore, they're not interacting with you, and you don't have that opportunity to increase customer satisfaction, loyalty, and if applicable, upsell and cross-sell opportunities. Instead, on a regular basis, their most frequent interaction is actually through the bill. And with the adoption of smartphones and tablets, with the development of new capabilities that change the way that consumers are going to interact with you on a regular basis for the use of your product or service, integrating the billing and payment experience into that, creating new billing and payment experiences, we believe is going to be very important for driving satisfaction, for driving retention, for driving and deepening that relationship with your customers. So what I'm going to do now is actually turn things over to Phil. We'll talk a little bit about how you actually do this and deliver shape a new mobile customer experience. Phil?
Thank you very much, Ron. That was really interesting to see all the latest data from not only consumers and how they're using their mobile devices to view and pay their bills, but also how billers are beginning to respond by offering those mobile billing and payment offerings. And looking forward to the future, what are those challenges that are facing organizations? You know, what challenges are facing utility companies, insurance companies, consumer finance companies, healthcare providers, telecom providers, collection agencies, debt buyers, and any other organization that's issuing a bill? What are the challenges that they're facing that is preventing them from creating this new mobile customer experience? So what we'll look at now are the top 10 components of a mobile billing and payment system. We'll look at how you can overcome the risks you just learned about, how to overcome risk aversion, how to overcome high costs, the complexity of integrating multiple technology systems, and the organizational barriers. What you'll discover is that by overcoming these obstacles, you can maximize the success of your mobile billing and payment program, and this will drive your customer satisfaction to new heights, enable you to cut the cost of paper bills like you never have before, streamline your operations for your finance and treasury group, simplify the technology integration so you won't have to rely on as many in-house technology resources, and ensure that this is all delivered with security that leads the industry. Let's jump in and look at the first component of a successful mobile and billing payment system. Your customers interact with you throughout the billing cycle, and it's important to think about the entire customer experience when designing your mobile billing and payment program. From the initial notification that their bill is available, to viewing the full bill, including their usage information with a complete replica of what their paper bill looks like, to being able to pay their bill securely with a credit card, debit card, or ACH, to be able to set up one-time payments, recurring payments, or make a fee-based payment where the consumer pays a fee and your organization is not responsible for the payment processing costs, to receiving that immediate confirmation that their payment has been made from their mobile phone, to the ability to suppress the paper bill from their mobile phone, and in those rare circumstances where the consumer has forgotten to pay, to be able to deliver a reminder to their mobile phone that the due date is approaching. It's imperative that you mobilize the entire billing cycle so that consumers, no matter where they are, anytime or anywhere, whether they're sitting on their couch at home and feeling too lazy to get up and walk across the room and go to their desktop computer, or maybe they're traveling for work or on vacation, that no matter where they are informed about their status and able to manage their bills, to receive a prompt notification, view the bill, pay it, receive a confirmation, suppress the paper bill, and if necessary to get that reminder that their payment is due. Ron showed how 95% of billers believe that billing and payment impacts customer satisfaction. And because the bill and the payment is the primary touch point that many organizations have with their customers, that's not surprising at all. So if you're able to mobilize the entire billing cycle, you'll be able to drive customer satisfaction. And because you're providing the ability for consumers to view their bill from their mobile phone and even suppress the paper bill from their mobile phone, you'll be able to cut the cost of paper bills. Ron mentioned how there's been a 400% increase in the past few years of those consumers who are paying their bills from the mobile device. Look at the screen on the left of the slide. This is a website that's been a payment website designed specifically for a desktop computer. And believe me, on a 17-inch monitor on a desktop computer, the site looks great and it's very easy for consumers to use. However, when viewed by a small screen on a mobile phone, it becomes frustrating. Consumers have to pinch in, zoom in, and be able to view the page. They have to put on their eyeglasses in order to be able to figure out what's happening here. And the process of viewing and paying their bills can take much longer for consumers. We went to one utility's website and it took 40 different pages that the consumer had to go through from their mobile phone in order to make a payment. Now contrast that with the screen on the right, and that shows what a website looks like that was designed specifically for the smaller screen of a mobile phone. This enables consumers to access their bills anytime and anywhere from their mobile device in a way that satisfies them. You're recognizing the specific situation that consumers are in, what device they're coming to your site on, and providing a screen that's optimized just for them. We recommend that as you take this approach, that you include a technology that will automatically recognize the screen size of the device the person's coming to. And when they're coming to your website from a desktop computer, that you provide a website that's already optimized for a desktop computer. And likely you already offer a website like that today. But when a consumer comes to your existing site with the same URL, that when they come there from a mobile phone, that they are routed specifically to a website that's optimized to look fantastic on their mobile screen. The third component that's essential to have a successful mobile and billing payment program is to provide a consistent consumer experience across all payment channels. The latest research we've seen shows that 2/3 of consumers use multiple payment channels when they interact with you. That might look like one of your customers that comes to your website in April to be able to view and make a payment. But then when the month of May comes along and their payment is due, they're traveling for work. And so they're in the airport and only have a few moments before the plane takes off. They can pull out their mobile phone, which they have with them, come to that same URL, receive an experience optimized for that device, use the same username and password, go to view the same bill they saw on the web the month before in the same format. And then they'll find the payment history from the previous month to say, you know what, that amount due, that's the same as I paid the prior month. Now the consumer is getting the experience tailored to their situation. They're getting all the contextual information around the payment that they need. So they'll be satisfied and able to make their payment. Ron mentioned the risk aversion, and that is one of the things that's held some billers back from deploying a mobile billing and payment program. Thinking about the risk aversion, most organizations today are already accepting electronic payments from their website. One way to reduce your risk is to look for a mobile billing and payment system that is a user interface built upon an existing infrastructure. For example, some mobile billing and payment systems have been designed to rest on top of a bill payment engine that serves multiple channels. That way it's the exact same operations that are serving your website. You're simply now adding a different website that's optimized to the mobile phone. So because you're using technology and systems that you're already accustomed to and have built in, it lowers your risk. It's imperative to drive a consistent consumer experience across channels, not only for the viewing and the paying of the bill, but also for the paper suppression. If a consumer turns off their paper bill from the mobile phone, and then they log in the next month to the website, it's important to have integrated preferences so that no matter what channel your consumers are coming to you through, they find that they're having their paper suppression preferences updated across channels. The same holds true for consumer contact information. That consumers should be able to update their contact information in one of your channels and then have it populate to all of the others. That way you know the best email address, the best phone number to reach out to your customers through. In order to maximize the success of your mobile billing and payment program, you need to inform consumers throughout the billing cycle. I can remember it wasn't too long ago when I was riding with some friends on the way to the airport, and one of my friends realized that their payment was due today. And because it was their credit card payment, if they didn't make it in, not only would they have a late fee, but then they'd be charged more interest the next month. So we're on the way to the airport, and we're looking around to see if there are any walk-in payment locations they could quick run in and make an expedited payment. But then that would hold us up and we might miss our flight. If consumers are able to get convenient notifications on their mobile phone, they can be informed to ensure that they make their payments on time, which speeds up your cash flow and also is sure to satisfy the consumers. So what would that look like if you offered notifications throughout the billing cycle? It would look like an initial alert coming to them on their mobile phone, allowing them to know, hey, your bill is available. You can click this link and pull up a website that's optimized specifically for their mobile phone where you can view your full bill. And then make a secure payment with your credit card, debit card, or ACH, either a one-time payment, a recurring payment, or a payment that involves a consumer fee. And then to get that immediate payment confirmation sent out to the consumer. They can know the payment went through. And now that they're satisfied that they can manage their full bills on the go anytime and anywhere, they can suppress the paper bill right there from their mobile phone. And again, the notifications must be throughout the billing cycle so that you've got the opportunity to scrub your customer base and see automatically those consumers who have not made a payment, ping them 3 days before the due date and send them a reminder to pay. In that reminder, you can include a link to your website where they can come in from their mobile phone to view and pay their bill. And it's important for ensuring consumers' trust in your system that those reminders are only sent to those consumers who have not already made a payment or set up a future dated payment that will be processed before the due date. A successful mobile billing and payment program not only drives high customer satisfaction, it also enables you to cut the cost of your paper bills. We see that unfortunately for most organizations, the industry average is only suppressing 20% of their paper bills, so that in the remaining 80% of their customers are receiving a high-cost paper bill that on average is costing 85 cents per customer per month to send that out. Of course, that cost will vary depending on the number of bills that are, the number of pages inside the bill, but that's a good average that we see across industries. We believe that one of the reasons why paperless billing adoption has flagged is that people have not paid enough attention to the consumer and what their needs are. So take a look at this graph here as it shows the primary reasons why consumers still receive paper bills. Look at the top line there and we'll see the paper statement serves as a reminder that the consumer needs to pay their bill. In order to be able to address this need, you've got to provide convenient mobile notifications to the consumer to remind them not only that their bill is available, but also to remind them a few days before the due date if they've not made a payment. If you're able to do this, consumers no longer need to rely on their paper statement as their reminder to pay. Let's look at the second most important reason why consumers hold on to their paper bill. The paper bill serves as a convenient reminder of how they can review their finances. You know, if you're like my parents, then your consumers might have their stack of bills in their bill drawer in the kitchen, and that's where they go to when they want to see how this month's charges compare with last month's charges or the year prior's charges and what their usage was. By allowing consumers to have easy access to both their current and historical full bills from their mobile device, consumers can now review their bills from their mobile phone no matter where they are. This easy access to the entire bill eliminates consumers' needs to rely on paper statements, enables you to cut the cost of paper bills. Now that you've provided consumers with convenient notifications throughout the billing cycle and a website that's optimized specifically to the mobile phone, you've addressed consumers' need to have easy access to their entire bill. Now that consumers are comfortable and trusting of your mobile billing and payment system, you've got the opportunity to enable them to turn off their paper bill right there from their mobile phone. So you can include just a quick one-click feature from your mobile optimized website to enable consumers to turn off their bill right then and there. You can also, when consumers come to your mobile site to register for the service initially, and they provide you with their email address, right then and there when they first sign up, you can have them opt in to receive electronic only bills or have them opt out. So depending on the strategy that you want to take, right there during that initial user sign up is a great chance to have consumers turn off their costly paper bills. Ron brought up the challenge of technology integration. And indeed, this has been a big challenge for organizations as they're going to provide electronic bill presentment. What we found is in the past, there'd often be redundant costs for billers. They would be paying their document processing service provider or their bill print provider, however you want to call them, the company that is mailing out the bills. They'd be paying them one fee to store the bill content, and then they'd be hosting the bill content in a separate place for display on their website, and then in a third place for the display to the financial institution's online banking. So now not only are you paying 3 times for the bill storage costs, you had to go through the legwork to set up and integrate all 3 of those systems. And when changes come out, the latest regulatory compliance, and you've got to make a switch, now you've got to upgrade all 3 of those places. The approach that we recommend you take to simplify your technology integration, save you time and money, is to find a system that comes pre-integrated with your existing bill storage. A company that's pre-integrated with document processing service providers, or that would offer a standard API if you're hosting your bill content internally. This would enable you to quickly and easily take your existing bill content and display it not only to your website, but also to your mobile billing and payment service, in your call center, and to the financial institution's online banking website. As we look at how to make your mobile billing and payment program as successful as it possibly can be, it's important to look not only at the consumer experience to ensure that you're driving high customer satisfaction, and that is important, and secondarily, to make sure that you're cutting the cost of paper bills and leveraging the full opportunity that the mobile channel provides, but also to look at how you can streamline your operations across all channels. We recommend deploying a system that gives you one deposit into your bank account each evening for payments made across the mobile, web, IVR, call center, and also your online banking websites. We recommend finding a system that can give you one payment file each evening with records of payments made across all of the different electronic payment channels. To have one data warehouse where you can get all of your customer records no matter what channel they've been active with you on. One administration tool for managing consumers' access across all channels. And as you're driving paper suppression higher, you want to have just one file delivered to you each day that no matter how a consumer turned off their bill, whether from your website or from your mobile channel, to have one bill storage connection which can reduce your technology resources required to deliver bill content across all the channels where consumers want to view it. One set of business rules to ensure that your policies are applied consistently no matter how consumers are interacting with you, strengthening the value of your brand. A one payment network connection so that you're not having to manage settlements from multiple different acquirers depending on the different channels. And one implementation process so that you can have a managed project that stays focused and gets you up and running quicker. As we've talked to many billers about their plans to take the mobile channel as a way to drive customer satisfaction, cost savings, and operational efficiencies, usually we'll find that the business side of the organization gets very excited about the possibilities. And as they begin taking steps forward, that their legal and compliance team will have all these questions about security. And security certainly is important, not only for you, but also for your consumers. That's why we recommend that you deploy a mobile billing and payment system that is fully PCI compliant and includes all the same controls that your desktop billing and payment experiences include, such as encrypted data transmission and not storing personal or financial information on the phone. If you do this, you'll be able to mitigate the risk and find that mobile payments can be just as secure as those made over the web. The final component of a successful mobile billing payment system is to ensure that you're flexible and prepared for the future. You know, it was just a few years ago that the web channel came out and all the focus was on deploying websites where consumers could view and pay their bills. It's important to look forward to the future because just as the web has, mobile has been added to the web, we know that mobile is not the end, that mobile is changing very quickly and there'll be future channels added. So to deploy a flexible system today that will prepare you for future changes. Just looking at some of those changes specific to mobile that have already happened. Here we're looking at Groupon and their transactions that were completed on mobile. We see that in the past 2 years, it's grown from 14% of their transactions to 45% of their transactions. This would not have been possible if Groupon was not focused on creating user experiences that were designed specifically for mobile. That's why, given this rapid change that's happened with Groupon, we have seen this happen with our biller clients as well, that they've seen a rapid increase in the percent of consumers coming to their website from their mobile device and using their mobile phone to make their payment. So interpreting this data, what does this mean for you? It means being able to quickly add a user interface to your website so it's optimized for the mobile channel. Another rapid change we've seen in the mobile ecosystem is the introduction of tablets. If you look at the graphs here, you see that the tablet shipments actually surpassed those of desktop and notebook computers. In the very first year that it was released, the iPad actually went from being a startup company to being a member of the Fortune 500. That's how much their sales grew in the very first year if they were a standalone company. Interpreting this for what it means for you is designing experiences that delight your consumers not only from their mobile a smartphone, but also from a tablet. We also see changes in the mobile market happening rapidly in terms of the operating systems that the consumers are using and the different devices that they're using. There have been a lot of changes, and it's important to understand the difference in the different types of smartphones and how to provide a user experience that delights no matter what kind of phone your consumers are using. So let's review the top 10 components of a mobile billing and payment system. You must mobilize your entire billing cycle, provide devices that have an optimized user experience no matter how your consumers are coming to you, provide consistent notifications, experiences across channels, make it easy for your consumers to access the entire bill, enable consumers to turn off the bill from their mobile device, to rely less on internal technology resources and go live quicker, to have pre-integration with document processing service providers, streamline your operations from across all channels, ensure the utmost in security, and be prepared for the future so you can keep up with rapid changes. We'd like to make a free offer to you where I'd give you a free mobile strategy session. This would be a 1-hour personalized consultation that focuses specifically on your consumers, your goals, and your existing technology and operations. We take all of the industry data we have about what other billers are doing, about what consumer preferences are, and personalize them specifically to your situation. To sign up for your free mobile strategy session, simply enter your email address into the Q&A box in the bottom right of the screen, or you can email me. My email address is philspradlin@aciworldwide.com. Again, this is a free offer to give you the opportunity to take what we've talked about today from an industry's perspective and make it actionable for your organization so that you can be delivering a successful mobile billing and payment program. To sign up, you can just enter your email address in the Q&A box. At this point, this concludes our prepared presentations, and I'll turn it over to Anne for our question and answer period.
Ron and Phil, thank you for that fantastic presentation. We'll now take questions for the remainder of the hour. If you have a question for our presenters today, please use the Q&A feature to enter them now. Okay. We'll get started with a question I have here for Ron. For mobile bill payment, how does usage split out between smartphones and tablets?
Well, it certainly varies by the type of bill, but we've just, as I indicated earlier, conducted a survey of consumers just a couple weeks ago. Actually, I haven't even published any of this research yet. And my early look at the data shows that on average, the percentage of bills that are being paid by tablet range from about 1.5 to 2 times the percentage of the bills being paid by smartphone. So clearly, the form factor is important here. I think if I dive into this, I'll find perhaps a little bit different types of behavior looking at the age of consumers, especially with younger consumers who tend to have a smartphone and not necessarily a tablet. But especially among many of the types of bills that I've been looking at, there are 2 types of bills that don't follow that pattern, and that is, not surprisingly, the consumer's cell phone bill, which is the smartphone often itself. So they're paying the smartphone bill with the smartphone. So no big surprise there. The other type of bill in which the smartphone usage actually is greater than the tablet usage is in student loans. And it's not a huge difference, but again, it's probably more a factor of the underlying consumer's age. Certainly there are consumers over the age of 30 and into the 40s who still take student loans, but the vast majority of those people paying those type of loan are younger consumers, and so with their emphasis on the smartphone versus tablet, that's probably not a huge surprise. So in general, the tablet use is higher than the smartphone use. It does vary by type of bill, though.
Thanks, Ron. We'll take a question for Phil. Phil, there are many forms of mobile bill presentment and payment. Browser, app, text. Which should we do first?
That's a great question, Ann. Based on the data that Ron presented about what billers are doing today, about having their top priority being the mobile optimized website, and that there are more billers who have deployed that than any other form of mobile, we really think that's the right approach to start with a mobile optimized website. And the reason being is that consumers are already using their mobile device to come to your website, and those consumers who are coming to your website from their mobile phone, if your site is not optimized for the mobile device, they're becoming frustrated today. And so to satisfy those consumers by providing a website that is optimized for the mobile phone.
Great, thanks. Here's another one, I think, for Ron. Ron, which industries or really types of bills lead the way in terms of mobile payment?
I think I probably alluded to this a little bit in the last answer, but clearly the cell phone or smartphone bills are probably right up there at the top. Also, as I indicated, not only is the among student loans is the smartphone usage a little bit higher than a tablet, but as a percentage of all bills being paid electronically, both the student loan type of bills as well as the cell phone demonstrate a higher percentage of the electronic bills being paid with mobile devices. Another one, a couple others that kind of rise to the top are insurance, home insurance and car insurance bills. Both of those are higher than average in terms of mobile use. And the other is in terms of mortgage and rent, although that is as a percentage of electronic bills, and for the most part, mortgage and rent bills tend to be paid electronically at a lower rate than some of the others. So we're talking about a higher percentage of a lower percentage, if you're following me on that one, which I hope you are. But the student loan, home and car insurance, and cell phone bills are the sub-industries that seem to really be leading the way in terms of mobile adoption. But we're not talking huge differences here between that and, say, utilities or home equity loans and credit card bills and so forth.
Great, thank you, Ron. I think we have about time for one more question here, and then we'll wrap up for today. If we haven't responded to your questions, we will follow up with you after today's event, or feel free to submit questions to us after the event, and we will get them to your presenters. A last one for Phil today. So why should our firm address the entire billing cycle, not just focus on the payment piece?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we have seen a couple organizations focus only on accepting payments from the mobile device and not addressing the entire consumer experience. It's imperative to look at the entire consumer experience to ensure that they're delighted throughout the month, and that consumers are willing to turn off their paper bill. By mobilizing the whole experience from that initial electronic notification your bill is available, to viewing the full bill from the mobile phone, paying it securely, receiving the confirmation, suppressing the paper bill, and when it's necessary, that due date reminder, you're providing all the capabilities that a consumer could do through paper or through the website. You're now enabling it from the mobile phone, so consumers can do that wherever they are, and they'll finally feel comfortable being willing to turn off the paper bill, which can deliver significant cost savings.
Excellent, thank you. Well, that wraps up our questions for this afternoon. I want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you especially to Ron Shevlin and Phil Spradlin for the presentations. We hope you found the session informative. Today's session has been recorded. We will send a follow-up so you may access the recording and share with your coworkers. Please take a moment to complete the post-event survey that will pop up on your screen as you exit the webinar. This now concludes this session. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.